a consequence of a child, a youth, an adolescent not feeling good about themselves.
If there'd been more education and information given to me, then I might have seen, oh, this isn't okay. Like I was like, oh, well, if I want to lose weight, then I either need to not eat or I need to or get rid of the food that's inside of me. And nobody was like telling me that like, oh, that's a sign of a mental illness.
I think if kids were taught at a young age about eating disorders and how dangerous they are, they would have a better understanding growing up into their adolescence and their adult life that they get to choose how to be healthy and what's healthy for them.
We're not taught how to manage our emotions, and we're even taught that some emotions are not okay to have, such as anger or anxiety or sadness. And when you teach children that they can't or shouldn't feel these certain emotions, you're setting them up.
Eating disorders are a consequence of distress, a consequence of a child, a youth, an adolescent not feeling good about themselves or having low or poor self-esteem. We need to kind of understand how we as a society can collectively move forward in a way that is going to promote their overall sense of self and well-being.
There needs to be a lot of support from school system.
I don't think it ever gets brought up in the school system, anything to do with eating disorders. Growing up, I never even knew about eating disorders until I had one.
If it's part of the curriculum in a high school and make it open, that people are aware of these things, coaches, everybody.
It's like any other campaign, like drugs or alcohol or cigarettes or any of those kinds of things. I believe that there's a place in the public education system for educating young people about the dangers of this illness.
I think there needs to be a lot of support from school systems and communities and government and make that a priority. The children are our future. And if they're unhealthy, then the future of eating disorders is going to get extensively worse than it is now.
It's really hard to find stuff. You need somewhere where you can trust the information you're reading. It's been vetted by professionals, and it's in a format that a normal person can understand.
There needs to be more resources for people who are husband, boyfriend, wife, girlfriend, just, the partner to someone who is struggling, because what they're going through is at times just as intense and they have very little to draw upon for support.
A lot less access to care.
I did try and get help.
Whole family needs to be treated.
There are so many areas throughout this country that have offered nothing. No help whatsoever.
There are more remote places that have a lot less access to care, like they don't have eating disorder counseling, they have regular counseling, and that type of counselor tries to deal with the eating disorder problem, but they don't have the specifications to deal with it.
Where are the programs for women who are older? Where are the programs for men or young boys?
I did try and get help, but there wasn't that support that I needed being a male.
We definitely need to have more residential programs for men that are over 25, women that are, over 25. There's not enough family therapy. The eating disorder affects the whole family, and the whole family needs to be treated.
More group options, because I've seen a lot of value in a group, and there's not a ton of those type of options out there.
There are no services that the healthcare authorities offer for binge eating right now.
And we just need to have some good aftercare therapy that they can go to when they're slipping a little bit and get some encouragement and proper education.
The wait times are also ridiculous.
2-3 years.
It's been the most painful.
There's so many people who are waiting on wait lists or in the sidelines to access the very little program we have available now. There is such a lack right now, and the wait times are also ridiculous. You're not telling someone with cancer or with diabetes or heart disease that they need to wait.
You shouldn't be on a waiting list for, 2-3 years.
The wait lists are years long. Even people that are in private practice, it's months, if not years long.
One-size-fits-all treatment not going to work.
Everybody needs a varied approach.
Absolutely. There is a lot of cookie cutter approach to treatment.
The downside of having cookie cutter programming is that people who don't fit within that cookie cutter don't access treatment.
Everybody needs a varied approach, so they may need a nutritionist, they may need a dietitian, they may need somebody to show them how to exercise properly, they may need a variety of supports.
We know that there's no single cause for an eating disorder, so it seems somewhat naive to expect or to think that there would be a single treatment that's going to make every patient better.
Someone who has a career, I'm working.
Only offered from 9 to 5.
People have lives.
Many people with eating disorders are still able to go to school or go to work or whatever. And if the program's only offered from 9 to 5, they're out of luck.
I'm someone who has a career, I'm working, and so my needs are different than those of someone who is younger and might have a little bit more opportunity to maybe take some time off school or to not be worrying about their income and paycheck to the same extent.
The program is outlined and the individual doesn't get to have any say. They have to show up at certain times. It doesn't matter if that interferes with work. They only have so many absences before they're forced out of the program.
So we really need to make sure that the person who is in recovery, working towards recovery, is at the center of all of our decision making.
It had to be on their terms and not on the terms that felt right to me.
Stop talking about people being ready or not for treatment.
People are coming forward saying, I need help, but the kind of help that's on offer is not useful to them. And what they're being told is, well, maybe it's not the time for you, or maybe you're not ready for this kind of group, or, maybe you're a bit resistant to treatment.
At the end of the day, if you're treatment resistant, I think what that means is you're still afraid, and they need to figure out from their end a way that they can support you to stop feeling so afraid.
You have to behave in a certain way. You have to behave like, sort of compliant to whatever's on offer. And that means sometimes being completely disingenuous to yourself or inauthentic, or pretending that something's wrong when it's actually not wrong, in order to have access to the program.
I felt like if I was going to recover, it had to be on their terms and not on the terms that felt right to me.
But it means that we can absolutely change the language. So we can stop talking about people being ready or not for treatment, and we can start really bending our minds to create new solutions for people who are not responding to what we have to offer at that time.
If you come from a place that doesn't have money,
what am I supposed to do? They fall through the cracks. If somebody finds that the community programs aren't working for them and they can't personally fund private programs, they fall through the cracks. They don't get the help that they need.
if you're from a family or community that has money and that sort of buys into the system of Western medicine, you can get help. So if you come from a place that doesn't have money, you're just supposed to suffer more?
I know of people who've mortgaged their houses and borrowed money from their family. And then I know people who've just been like, well, I can't afford it, so what am I supposed to do?
It's prohibitive for most families to be able to send their child to a out-of-country facility, and it's very important we have them in Canada.
Private counseling is an option, but for some people, they just financially can't do it. They either, don't have the money or they don't have the benefit plan that supports them to the extent that they need.
And some people say, well, people can get private psychiatry through extended healthcare benefits, or they can see a private psychologist. They sure can, for 3, 4, maybe 5 sessions.
So what we need is changes in medical coverage. So what is covered publicly through MSP and also in the private insurance.
We have to be willing as a country to find ways, whether it's through insurance, whether it's through our health benefits, I don't care, dream it up, to be able to pay for this as an essential service.